Hello, this is Cindy with Cindy's Kitchen, and today I'm going to share with you how I make sourdough bread. A lot of people like sourdough bread, and it looks pretty amazing when it's done. It smells pretty amazing and tastes really good. It's also really healthy and probably one of the most healthy breads for you from my understanding and reading. Even people who are gluten intolerant can often eat sourdough bread. It's just different. It's not packaged yeast that you buy. You're actually growing yeast from the air. So very simple ingredients. It includes water, flour, and salt. That's it. The first thing I want to talk about is the supplies you might need. So you probably have some things in your kitchen that you can use already without buying anything, but I find tools very helpful and the outcomes tend to be better when you have the right tools. So I'm going to recommend these, but you can adapt and be creative however you like in your kitchen. So one of the things is a Dutch oven. A Dutch oven is basically a cast iron pot with a lid. I used to read recipes wondering what the heck is a Dutch oven. It doesn't seem like it's an oven, the pot, but it is. It's called a Dutch oven. And what that does is the cast iron cooks really even because the whole thing heats up. So it disperses the heat all throughout the pot. The other thing is a proofing basket. So a proofing basket allows that dough to breathe as it's rising, and it also makes a really nice texture on it, and it makes the bread very pretty. So you could use a dish towel and a colander as a substitute for that, but you have to get a lot of flour on the dish towel and that can get kind of messy. So I prefer the proofing basket. There's a lot of reasons for it that you'll figure out as you go, but a dish towel works just fine. The other thing would be something to score the dough with. So either a sharp razor blade, a sharp paring knife, or they make a special tool you can buy for scoring bread, artisan bread. You can make designs with it and do all kinds of things if you get really into that part of it. A scraper is a really good tool to sticky bread, so having the scraper is very helpful. And parchment paper. Parchment paper is a must. You gotta have parchment paper. I would say even if it's not in your kitchen, that would be the one thing I'd go out and invest in, some parchment paper. So the first thing you need to do when you want to make this bread is prepare. If you got your tools ready, you need some starter, and starter takes time to grow. You need at least a minimum of 3 days unless you have a friend that is willing to share some of their starter with you. If that's the case, you're already ahead of the game. But I'm going to tell you quickly how to make some starter. So you're going to need flour and water. I would get yourself a container, a non-metal container, either plastic or glass. So you put a half a cup of flour in there. As far as type of flour, there's all kinds of things out there. Just about anything will work, but at least go with an unbleached flour. Add some water to it, like room temperature water, filtered water, and you want to add just enough that it turns it into a thicker than pancake batter consistency. Oh, my words are all over the place. The next day or whenever you did it, 24 hours later, you should see some bubbles in there and it's starting to grow. Now, if you left it alone, it would deflate again. You basically just refeed it. So every 24 hours, you keep feeding it. You give it that half a cup of flour, a little bit more water, mix it, and it's going to keep growing. Back to that feeding, you're probably thinking a half a cup of flour every day and doing the math like I did. You don't have to feed it every day. Once it's successfully developed good gluten yeast in there, then you're going to be able to put it in the refrigerator and feed it way less often. A week, every 2 weeks. I've gone as long as a month. I recommend about every 2 weeks. But if you go like a month, you might get some spoogy stuff on the top of it that's kind of a grayish color. You just scrape it off and feed it again. If you've gone much over a month, you might want to toss it all out and start over. So that's just kind of a guideline. But you don't have to feed it every day. You just kind of get in a rhythm and you figure out when you want to make bread. Back to making bread. The night before, feed your starter. When you get up in the morning, this is what you're going to do. You're going to get a bowl and 1 3/4 cups of warm water. Not too hot, just warm. And you're going to add a 1/2 cup of that starter you made to that mixture and let it dissolve. Then you're going to gradually stir in 3 cups of white flour and 3/4 cups of wheat flour. Get it all incorporated in there so everything's hydrated and wet. Cover it with a dish towel and let it sit there for an hour. They call this process Autolyse, I think. Autolyse, something like that. And basically it's a fancy word for hydration. It's hydrating that flour and it's kind of doing its thing. It gets more elasticity and it's prepping it for the next process ahead. So after an hour of this, we're going to add salt. We're going to add a tablespoon and a teaspoon of salt. And how I do that is I put the tablespoon and teaspoon in a couple tablespoons of water, warm water, so it kind of dissolves. And I actually do that before the bread is ready for that step, so it can kind of sit on the counter for a little bit. But you can do it right before. The important thing is just to get it dispersed throughout that dough and use your hands at this point. And I recommend if you maybe get your hands a little damp before you start touching it. You can use a spoon, but getting that salt incorporated everywhere, it works better with the hands. You're done, get your kind of things shifted back into somewhat of a together grouping in the bowl. And then wash your hands off, cover it with a dish towel, and let that go for another 60 minutes. So another full hour. So that's hour 2. When that's complete, you want to start a series of folds, and you're going to do these series of folds every hour for 3 more hours. And what that looks like is after you've gone an hour, after the salt was that stage, you're going to take the dough at the edge with a damp hand and pull at 12 o'clock straight up to 6 o'clock. 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And it's about 4 folds. Cover it with a dish towel. Let it go 60 minutes, rise. And you're going to do that again and again. So on the last time, scrape it out with your scraper or your hand. It helps me to get my fingertips wet because otherwise everything just sticks to it. And you don't want to really use flour when you're doing that because you don't want to take away that hydration from it. It is a sticky, stretchy, elastic type dough. It is nothing like a traditional dough might be, like if you were making a French bread or something. Very, very different in nature. Ultimate goal is to create tension in that lump of dough. And this is my technique, the way I like to do it, but you can do it however works for you in handling the bread. I think everybody kind of develops their own technique as they go. Just remember, you're looking for tension there. So you're going to put it in that proofing basket that's coated in flour, right dead center. And you're going to, make sure that tension's on there. I like to get my fingertips a little bit wet and make sure I pat the top so I don't have like dry flour or something that's going to be all crusty. So then I put the dish towel over the top of that and put it in the fridge. So it's going to stay in the fridge overnight. Okay, so now you should have a beautiful loaf of bread. At this point, you can put it on a cooling rack, let it cool, give it 20-30 minutes to cool. It's not going to be cold, it's going to be nice and warm. You got to try it out, and I'd love to know what you think of it. I'd love to see some pictures. You can post them in the comments. But if you like today's content, please subscribe to this channel and give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to know when I upload more videos, click the notification bell. I just want to let you know I appreciate you watching so very much, and you have a great day.